Hello everyone and welcome back to another art time lapse. Today I'm doing a piece called Tears and Joy. Originally, I think a lot of people think of the concept of tears with joy or tears in the midst of joy or tears turning into joy or tears of joy is probably what most people think of. But this art piece is more documentation of like how with joy there comes a lot of tears that not necessarily are tears of joy. It might be sadness that comes with it. And as I mentioned in some of my previous videos, now I'm doing a lot of dialogue behind my pieces to kind of explain the process of how the piece develops, because as I mentioned before, a lot of people really like the final product behind a piece and it might really resonate with them, but like I think understanding the story of where the piece comes from and the process of how it was developed can really open up more conversations about the art piece itself. So that's why I'm doing a lot of art time lapse to kind of dialogue and explain how this piece came to be what it is. So I started off with some light lilacs and some blues, just really diluted acrylic wash colors from Holbein that I picked up at my local art store, diluting it with plenty of water to give it a little bit of a watercolor effect. To be honest, like most pieces, I think I have a rough idea where I'm going at. I want it to be kind of loose watercolors with really hyper pigmented highlights of some of the contrasts and show details of drawing of a girl. I knew she was going to be holding her face. I didn't know what kind of expression she'll be having, but overall blue I feel is more of a cooler color that's more surreal, not necessarily like a color of hope, but like maybe a color of acceptance and calmness. So that's where I'm coming from for this piece. Here I am using a reference picture to kind of figure out roughly where I want her lips to be, and that gives me kind of like a rough idea of where I want to go. To be honest, I think at this point in the painting, I still not exactly sure where I want to go. Is she going to be happy? Is she going to be sad? Is she going to be, what is the story behind this girl? I imagine if I was to hold my face, I'm usually in a state of hopelessness, and I am recently really into concepts of polar opposite and trying to figure out how I can create that into a visual presentation like a painting. So when I think about hopelessness, I was like thinking the polar opposite of hopelessness will be like joy or like just hopelessness opposite is hope. That's a horrible way to describe it, but like just having the aspiration that things will get better. So I was just thinking like, okay, this girl's gonna be holding her face, she's crying, she's sad, but at the same time I want there to be joy and happiness in it. So that's what this piece is meant to be, and how like not everything is gonna be unicorns and rainbows, and that's okay. Here I decided that I'll just add in some red and see what happens. It looks like she's hemorrhaging through her head at this point. I don't think I realized it when I added on. It wasn't until it dried that I thought about it. I'm like, this doesn't look right. It looks like she's bleeding out of her eyes, which is not my intention. So I thought, you know what, I'll let it dry itself, and you know that gouache, once it dries, the lighter color turns darker and darker color turns lighter. So like the red was not as like kind of like as distinctive as I thought. So now I'm adding in some light blues and like other more pastel colors and seeing how it will work with the piece. I didn't want her tears to be like tears of blood, but like tears of sadness and joy at the same time. I think there are so many things that in life that are both happy and sad at the same time, and I want to really showcase that in this piece. So like a clear example of that is like my experience through motherhood that I'm going through right now. I'm so happy to see my children grow and see them how they every day they seem to learn new skills and like they find joy in every day, and I really enjoy that process of watching them grow, but at the same time also really sad that they are growing so fast. I hear it all the time from all the parents that they grow up so fast, and I'm like, yes, it sounds so cliche. And like, now that I'm actually going through it and experiencing it, like, I feel the heartache of seeing them grow so fast, and like, I'm worried about missing out on things, but at the same time, like, I think I'm worried so much that I am missing out on things. And it actually is also a privilege to have the opportunity to watch my children grow. Something that like I need to honor and like be thankful for. So that's where this piece kind of comes from. Um, Trying to amalgamate this concept of joy and sadness at the same time. Do you think this piece kind of resonate the idea with you? Does the concept of like these polar opposite emotion also resonate with you? I would hope so. I feel like it's a universal human trait to like to kind of engage with one another in these different types of feelings. That's what makes humanity so unique. And how we can express these feelings is also something that's very unique to our species as a whole. So I think I'm almost about done this piece. I'm still adding in some highlights. I do want to put in a comment here. If you like the content on this channel, please consider like, subscribing, and sharing. It really would help a lot. With that said, I just want to show you how far I've gotten with this piece so far. Usually after I finish up with the acrylic wash, I add in a little bit of oil pencils to add in details or blend and create gradients and shading. So that's what I will do next, but this is how it looks so far with just using acrylic wash, which I really like so far. I'm actually really surprised how this piece comes out, because a lot of times I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm sometimes pleasantly surprised by how the paint or the paper or the just speaks to me, and the brush just tells me like this is where the color would blend, and I'll just let the water kind of like try to create their own story. I just need to let go and let that happen, because sometimes I want a lot of control over my artwork. So here I've added in more oil pencils. I didn't get a chance to document the entire process, but you can see how there's more gradient, more distinction, and there's a punch of color in certain areas that were not distinguished before. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this art time lapse of tears and joy, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.